Hey Snacks! It's season 4 of Snack Size the podcast, and 2022 is all about you. And guess what? You are fabulous. It's time to open doors and embrace new opportunities. And your dreams can and will come true if you just take the time to pursue them. So this season is a cheers to you, finding your fabulous life. Our time together starts now. Hey Snacks! It is so good to be back here with you again, and thanks for joining me on the podcast. Today I have a super exciting guest. They are a bisexual suicide survivor and former pastor turned love coach, aka the Love Guru. And in his work, he fuses powerful spiritual practices with humor and practical techniques to empower everyday people to find extraordinary love. They have a fantastic new book called To Heal A Hoe. So here I am in my 30s and my hoeing days are far behind me. So before I read the book, I really didn't think that I needed anything healed. However, this guest's take on love and life is so unique and fully realized. His book ended up showing me that I needed much more healing than I ever thought. It's exactly what you need if you're overcoming any of life's love challenges. You absolutely deserve to feel positive about all of you, and that includes your sex and love life. So, let's not delay. Please give a snack-sized welcome to the Love Guru, Byron Jamal. Let's give him a call. Hi, Byron. Welcome to Snack Size.
Hey, Lala. Thank you for having me on today.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you here. When I got the email to have you as a guest, I just looked at the book title, To Heal A Hoe, and I said, yes, that is what my podcast needs. So today, if you are one of my hoes, we are going to talk about how you can get healed. And I'm so very excited. So for my listeners who don't know who you are and are meeting you for the first time, tell us a little bit about you and your life.
Yes, absolutely. So again, thank you for having me on. I'm really excited. I am a former pastor turned love guru. I left the church when I realized that I was more effective one-on-one with people than actually in the pulpit. There was much more freedom in my coaching sessions and in the office than the freedom that I felt in the pulpit. So I left the ministry, became the love guru, helping ordinary people find extraordinary love. I help singles, couples, straight people, LGBTQ, inspired people. I literally help anyone and everyone who wants to find love. As someone who was abused, adopted, molested, I have gone through enough things to finally love myself. I'm a suicide survivor, and so I learned how to finally love myself, and I want to give that back to others.
Awesome. And where are you located?
I am currently in Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, I love Atlanta. But I'm assuming you work with people. Do you work with people all over the country?
All over the world, yes. All over the world.
That's wonderful. And so you have a new book out, To Heal A Hoe. Tell my listeners just a little bit about it. We don't want to give everything away, but just a little preview.
So I love this book because it is one of those things that I created in my life that I feel like will literally be something I'm proud of for the rest of my life. It is one of those books that helps someone who is dealing with the label of hoe to actually find healing, as the name says. But it addresses 3 things: stigma, shame, and trauma. So the stigma side is just sex as it is. I mean, in America, sex is so taboo. Oh my goodness. Just the mention of it elicits some kind of feeling of discomfort. So really addressing sex and making sure we're comfortable with conversations about sex in general. Then with the shame piece, many of us start our sexual journey with a shameful act. We're caught masturbating or a parent says something about something that happens to us, or we're touched inappropriately. And so there's a measure of shame that's attached to our sexual journey. Maybe we don't like the body that we're in once we have those sexual thoughts. And so all of that's attached and really finding healing. But the final piece is the trauma. And that's dealing with the side, maybe it's your sexuality that wasn't embraced. Maybe it was something that happened to you or something that you did sexually that caused you pain. And so it is one of those things that all 3 of those need to be addressed in our modern society.
I think one thing that is fantastic about this book is that you have a very unique to what you're trying to do definition of what a hoe is. So for our listeners who want to know who qualifies as a hoe, tell them what that means to you.
Absolutely. So that is the main question that I get all the time. What is a hoe exactly? Well, I define that a hoe is really someone who has identified as a hoe. I know that sounds interesting, but I use this analogy or this example all the time that your grandma could call you a hoe because you had too many dates in a month. You didn't even have sex. You just had date. You went on dates. Somebody else could call you a hoe because you got a divorce and you had multiple marriages. So it is more about how you interpret yourself. And that is why I say healing, because if you feel good about your sexual journey, then the word hoe has no impact on you. If you feel, but see, most of us, once we identify as a hoe, there are certain beliefs that are attached to that. We naturally believe that hoes can't find love. We naturally believe that it is difficult for someone to embrace a hoe, that a hoe can't change their hoe ways. And so there's a lot of those things that we say out loud in our friend circles or in groups or in chat rooms, and we literally have this mentality about a hoe. And if that's how you feel about yourself, then love may be off the table for you, or you may do things sexually just because you don't believe that you should have any sexual standards because you're not going to find love anyway. And so it really impacts how we address one another and how we treat ourselves.
That's amazing. And I really enjoyed that in the book, you identify a lot of different types of hoe. However, a certain passage in your book struck me, and it maybe identified that why it took me until 23 to find a truly healthy relationship. And it reads, "Pride separates you from others. There is no way to want everything to go your way, expect better than everyone else, believe that you are better than everyone else, and still form healthy bonds with people. In this way, pride separates you from God's design to live in relationship with others. You are isolated by your inflated self-esteem." So, considering that there is, good ways to be proud and proud that can affect you, what does it mean to you to have a healthy balance between being proud and then maybe too proud?
So the thing about pride is it's supposed to help you when outside or internal things come up. It allows you to remain self-loving and self-assured, to be confident. Pride that's unhealthy thinks bigger of yourself than it should. So as it said in the reading you just did, it says that it must be my way and not anyone else's way. I must always have my own way. And so we understand it in life. The only way to really coexist with other people is to have some measure of balance. So you get your way sometime, I get my way sometime. So I can still be who I am without having to lessen your ability to have what you want. And that's the difference. So when it comes to sexuality, and this is where pride comes in real heavy. So think about the person who says, I'm only a top. I will only ever be a top. This is all I'll ever do. They meet somebody who is versatile. And so there's this measure of pride, regardless of the reason why. I will not bend for you at all. That's pride. And I know it sounds, well, this is what I like and this is what I don't like. But ultimately, if you're trying to be in a loving relationship with someone and they say they want something every now and then, maybe birthdays, holidays, I always say that I'll buy them for on a birthday. But it's being able to have those conversations and be flexible with the person that you're with. And when you're not that way, when you're inflexible, it says that you're walking in that measure of pride. So there's the difference. It's, yes, I love myself, but I also love you in a way that will allow me to make sure you get what you need sometimes as well.
You open up about your sex life in the book, and you talk about how there are several ways to heal. Do you recall the time in your life when you decided yourself that it's time for me to heal? What was the moment like? And then what was your first step in your healing process?
Absolutely. It was after my last breakup. So I've been doing this work for a while now, but sometimes you can be doing things and not really look in the mirror at your own self. I was in a relationship and I was not happy. I was not happy fully. I was not satisfied in the relationship, and I was not satisfied with parts of me. I was not fully operating in self-love that I had been preaching. And so I got to a point where I ended up cheating on my partner, and it really created a major void and hurt him to his core, because he's not that type. And initially I wasn't either. And I'm someone who's a victim of being cheated on, so I knew what it felt like and the pain that it could cause. I did it anyway. And it really left me in a space where I realized this is hoe behavior. There was something in me that I needed to address. And because I didn't address it, there was a part in me that needed to be touched, needed to be hugged, needed to be loved, needed to be nurtured. And because I didn't do it, I went out to find someone else who could. That level of pain that I inflicted then caused me to really look inwardly at myself and my decisions and who I was. And I realized there's a lot of hoe damage and trauma that we just bury, that we don't address. And when you have unprocessed experiences, unprocessed meaning just trauma, when you have that stuff sitting, it sits in you. And even if you bury it, even if you ignore it, it comes out in other ways, maybe even later on in life. And that's what happened to me. So that's what I knew for sure that I needed to do the work.
And what did the first step look like? What was the first thing you did for you? I know in the book you talk about many different ways. And so for those of you who are going to pick up this book, just know that if, you know, this specific way doesn't sound right for you, Byron offers so many different ways to get there. But I did want to know, what was your first step?
Well, the first step is always what I call the God creation step, which is to acknowledge what is. And the reason why I say that is everything begins with acknowledgement. In Genesis, it says that before anything was created, God acknowledged the darkness, that it was dark, that it was void. Nothing can be created until something is accepted for what it is. And I had to be honest that I had some hoe ways, some hoe tendencies, did some harmful hoe activities that created the outcomes that happened because of my decisions. It was from there, being that honest and just raw with myself, that I was able to start healing. I always say you can't heal what you hide. And so if you're not honest and transparent and vulnerable enough to expose what really is happening, not try to make it sound good or water it down or dress it up, just as raw as it is, that's when you can get the true healing that you deserve. So the first step is always acknowledging what is.
That's great advice. I've always said that no matter what you want to do, it doesn't matter if it's finding love or finding a better career, you have to meet yourself where you're at. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to be where you're at. And it's also okay to just be like, I'm not where I want to be, but I do want to get there. And I think that that's a great thing, even if we're not talking about being a hoe. But it certainly applies here.
Absolutely.
In the book, you talk about hoe positivity, and I found this passage so empowering. It said, hoe positivity aims to elevate sex positivity by welcoming people's actual sexual past rather than just their perceived one. In a sex positive environment, you wouldn't automatically call the girl wearing a crop top a hoe. Hoe positivity would say that even if she is a hoe, she is worthy of amazing, unconditional love and space to give and receive that love. So a common theme of my guests on this show is that they are in some type of journey to be successful, but that meant they had to overcome some type of struggle. And likely they were at a point where they didn't love themselves. And I think the feeling of unworthiness is especially critical when we have discussions about healing. You offer so much advice in your book about this, but if you could pick like one thing that you think is critical for someone who feels unworthy to start feeling worthy, what would that be?
So that's major. I had to do this work when I was rediscovering my worth after a suicide attempt. The first thing that I had to do, and the first thing I had to remember, is that I am, and you are, and we are beautifully, intentionally created beings. I have a story, short story here of when I was in middle school, or first year of middle school. We had an art project, and we were supposed to create something for our parents out of clay. And most of the kids decided to do, cups and mugs and flower vases and all those kind of things. I was the creative child who decided I wanted to do a bear in a chair watching TV. So I had never really worked with clay. So of course the bear in the chair did not really happen. The chair it was more like a dog in a beanbag by the time I finished, because it literally had no legs. I didn't even get to the TV. This bear did not look like a bear at all. And so my whole concept was off. And when I took this final project home to my parents. It looked nothing like what I saw in my head. And so I was crying as I gave it to them. I was literally frustrated with myself, the creation, the way it turned out. And they took it and they put it on the mantle where we put our awards and trophies that we all have. And so years later, I didn't understand it then, but years later when I look back, I realized why they did it. It wasn't so much that the creation looked amazing. It was who made it. They loved who made it, and they knew that it was made with love. And I have to remind myself sometimes about that truth. And I want to remind everyone listening, including you, about the same thing, that we were not, even though we didn't come out the way that we may have wanted, we were made with great intention, passion, and love. And that should be enough to kickstart your self-love journey. That you're not an accident. No matter how you were born, the way you were born, the shape you were born, your proclivities, your desires, your wants, all of that stuff was a part of the design. And even if you don't understand why, it's worth it to love it because you know you were made with love.
That is such a great story. And it actually relates to another part of the book that I absolutely loved, where you talk about home. And you said home is the place where you love the skin you're in. You're not ashamed by past mistakes or traumas. You can take them and rejoice in the reality that you're stronger than you realize. Home honors your journey, appreciating every decision as a lesson learned or a lesson affirmed. Can you expand upon the importance of finding home in your life and how that plays into living, or anyone who wants to live, a happy and fulfilled life?
Absolutely. So the whole notion about being a hoe is normally just leaving home. And I say leaving the space that is really true to who you're supposed to be. And I use the example of the prodigal son that takes his inheritance before his father passes and goes out and lives his life. Eventually he ends up in a pig pen, eating out of the muck because he's wasted all his wealth. And he realizes is a moment when he's in the pig pen eating the slop. And he's like, there's a home that I have. And when he gets back home, he's welcomed. Now, he's supposed to be criticized and ridiculed and all of that, but really he's welcomed back. There's a part of you that says, I've gone too far to love myself, or I've done too much. But at every turn, when you turn back and look back and say, I want to be the better version of myself. I want to operate better. I want to have what I really want to have. I want to love myself in a real way. Once you say yes, you're welcome back. This space that we call our body, this address, this zip code that we call our body, is literally just ours. And it's like when you have people come over and they're friends of yours, and you're like, I'm not cleaning up because y'all know my house. You've been here before. You know what's done. I'm not cleaning up today. Some days it's nice and clean and some days it's not. But either way, it's home. And when you really love yourself, it feels like that. You can have people come over. People can be in your space. You don't have to be 100. You don't have to be Instagram ready all the time. It's that you can love yourself at any portion, at any phase, in any situation, because home is literally where the heart is, but it's also where your truth is. And that truth is that you are worthy of that love that you seek.
I love that. I think that everybody should allow themselves the opportunity to find home wherever that may be. One of the things I really, really liked about your perspective in this book is your very unique perspective on God and religion and how those things played out in your lives and in the lives of others. And things that stood out to me were that you recognize that if we are made in God's image, then God too is also sexual. Yeah. And you also use prayer as a part of the healing process. Can you talk a little bit about your own spiritual journey and how you in your own life came into the realizations that you express in this book?
Yeah, so this was really important for me. I wrestled with my sexuality so long, but I was wrestling the entire time growing up in church, becoming a youth leader, becoming a elder, a minister, becoming an elder, becoming ordained. I literally wrestled with it all throughout the processes. And it was one day that I woke up and I was going through some things in a relationship. I wanted a loving relationship, and I felt like I had sabotaged all of my relationships because of my spiritual wrestling. And so I said, God, I got to talk to you because there's something here. I know you created me to have amazing love. You love me. I feel that. But I don't feel comfortable with my sexuality. that means I don't feel comfortable having the sex I have. Yes, it feels amazing. Yes, it's great. But I don't, at the end, I feel nasty. I feel like I did something wrong. And I don't feel like this is what you intended. And there was a softness that came over me that just said, I am the God that created you. Every desire you've had, I have. I made you in my image and likeness. So if it's image and likeness, then you must have what I have and I have what you have. So I had to pause on that for a second and just sit with that and acknowledge that God made sexual parts. God made pleasure zones in the body. God made us, we could have easily have just been made and got no pleasure from sex, right? Like none. If it was just a biological feature to reproduce, why have pleasure attached? The pleasure says it was more than that. And I am thankful that that's the truth, because by God, I am so glad that we could actually enjoy that process. Hello. So yes, it's important to acknowledge that God created it, and that saved my life. That literally allowed me to welcome in love, to no longer feel shame or guilt or remorse when I have sex. It let me know that it was okay. And I think that's sometimes all we need is that affirmation that it's okay. Because in church, they just tell you what not to do. They won't tell you what is okay to do. And it's really important to feel that tap on the shoulder from the divine that just says, this is okay too.
One thing I think you say is not only that it's okay, you talk about how your sexual energy can serve you. I think that you said that there are so many benefits of having a healthy sex life that can impact your health and success overall. How have you experienced that with yourself and with people you've worked with by saying it's okay and accepting yourself and empowering it? How has that affected your life and others?
Well, we talk about this phenomenon now of body love. And I tell people it's impossible to truly have the full version of body love and not talk about your sexual side, because you are a sexual being and your body is a part of that. I mentioned in the book that it's hard to have sex without being naked, right? It's hard to have sex without seeing some part of your body exposed. And so literally being able to embrace your body and embrace the nature of sex really allows you to then walk, catch this, with more confidence in a room. When you have clarity about your sexual journey and who you are sexually, you're confident. You have unmeasured confidence about, I am confident in the skin, so you can walk with your head up high. You're not intimidated when you put on certain clothes. You understand the power that your vessel has to create life, to give out life, to hold life, whether you're a man or a woman. Like, you literally have you are a part of the creative cycle of the universe. Mm-hmm. That alone should help you understand just how powerful it is to be a sexual being. It's nothing to be ashamed of. This is how the world keeps going. This is how we survive as a species. And this is also how we forge deeper connections with one another. Sex is a powerful connector. It allows you to share amazing energy with someone. I say it's the closest you can get to somebody without naked wrestling. You know, like
I get that.
So it's a really important facet of our existence and our being. And I think to underrate how powerful sex is to do it a great disservice. It was given to us outside of meditation and connecting spiritually. Sex is right there with all the spiritual practices that people want to do. Sex is an amazing way to get to know your body, what you like and don't like, what feels good, where your sensation points are. Like, learning your body is like exploring a new country. You're like, wait a minute, I didn't know I liked that, or I didn't know I wouldn't like that. And so it's a powerful thing also to see how your body changes, just like the world changes. Your body changes. Certain things that are sensitive aren't so sensitive anymore. other things become more sensitive. Like you learn that your body evolves and changes, and it's just, you're connected. And that's the point. Spiritual connects you upward, but the sex and sexuality along with meditation connects you inward to who you are and what you need and what you desire. And that's a powerful thing to know your own instrument.
That is such amazing advice. And I definitely encourage anyone who is not just struggling with their sexuality, really struggling with any type of self-confidence or unworthiness. How to Heal a Hoe definitely has all different types of ways to heal yourself, and I definitely suggest you get into it. I do want to just talk about your career for a little bit, because that's something we like to talk about here on this podcast. We're all searching for that thing that lights us up and makes us happy and fulfilled. Yes. So you went from being a pastor to now a love coach. And something I really encourage on this podcast is for people to feel free to pivot their dreams. If what they currently are doing isn't fulfilling them, then you need to change it up. And I know that you do touch on this in the book as well, but can you share with us how you came to the decision to transition from being a pastor to what you're doing now?
Yeah, it was really important for me to transition because the level of effectiveness I had one-on-one in the office when I met with people, I could literally talk about any and everything. I could get as raw as I needed to in the office, but when I stood behind the pulpit, there were certain things I just could not say. People are 99% more conservative in groups than they are one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And so the moment even the people who say they are the most free, when you get them in a group, they will hone in just a little bit. They will dial it back just a little bit. But when you get them one-on-one, they're all in. And so it's that helped me realize I'm much more effective when I'm able to be as raw and honest, and the pulpit just doesn't afford that. Unfortunately, I wish that it could. Maybe one day it will, but as of right now, it is hindered by, just the prejudgments that people have. And honestly, a lot of people are, as I mentioned in the book, a lot of people are scared to have these conversations about sex and sexuality because they don't have the answers. They haven't done the research or they haven't done the work to find them. And so it's better just to condemn something than to do your research and have an answer for it. And so if you don't have an answer, it's just easier to say, well, we're not going to discuss that, and it's bad. And just leave it there. It's just easier. It is. It's just easier. And so when I was growing up and I'd be like, well, what about sex? Don't have it till you're married. That's it. Conversation over. There's no other conversation. Literally. Find somebody, get married, have sex then, and that's the end. Well, what if I already had sex? We're not addressing that, okay? What did I say? Go find you somebody. Well, I already did it, So that's the sad thing about it. And so that's why stepping out and being free to walk both spaces. I call myself sometimes the day walker because literally I will walk both spaces of day and night. Like Blade, if you will, and be able to really talk the religious speak, but also just the everyday language to break it down, to make it easy and digestible. There has to be a middle ground where the church is not so super spiritual that it doesn't apply to everyday life, and there has to be a space where everyday life isn't just so carnal and natural, but it incorporates some of the spiritual aspects. This is what it's important to be: well-rounded, balanced, living every day. So I love what I do. I am daily appreciative of the life I live now, the space I'm in, and walking this line. I regret nothing.
That's amazing. And I think that in both roles, you were definitely changing hearts and minds, both for the better. So I can definitely see where there's similarities, but you definitely sound like you are more fulfilled in this path. And I would love seeing that here on Snack Size.
That's right. I really am.
So looking at maybe not just this book, but your brand as the whole, you're the love guru. So we know you have all types of advice, and we're definitely going to talk about where people can get more of that advice in addition to this book. But if you could pick like one thing that someone has to take away from your work or the thing or the message you're trying to send out, what would that one thing be? If they learn nothing else from How to Heal a Hoe, what do you want them to take away?
That you're only a hoe if you believe you're a hoe. And if you believe you're a hoe, then you won't have love, the love that you deserve. So no longer believe that anything you've done in your sexual past is a part of what makes you up today. All of those experiences, every single thing that you've gone through. And so there's nothing that you have to be ashamed of. All of it made you the strong, resilient, purposeful, powerful person that you are. And so never feel shame for where you've been or what you've done or what's been done to you.
That's right. You can always, always, always grow from your past.
Yes, indeed.
So I know I am actually going to read How to Heal a Hoe again. I didn't get a chance to do you each have like questions and homework and stuff. And I read it, but I didn't get a chance to do all that. So I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do my homework. But for those listeners that want to keep following you and keep getting into your message and your books and all the types of things, I think you're even on YouTube, right?
Yeah, we do a little bit of that too.
Where can we get into all that?
So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn if you're feeling businessy, and I'm sometimes funny on TikTok, YouTube. You can find me at all those spaces at Byron Jamal. Really easy to find. I really believe I'm easy to find because love should be too. So that's the way that I live.
Awesome. And we can get How to Heal a Hoe on Amazon, right?
You can get it on Amazon, or you can go to byronjamal.com and you can be linked. It's on pre-order right now. It'll be released on the 14th. And so excited for everybody to grab a copy of the book. Actually,
then this episode's premieres, it'll be the 16th. So you know what, Snacks? It's available right now. For you.
Go for it.
At byronjamal.com.
I love it.
Well, Byron, thank you so much for coming on Snack Size. And until next time, Snacks, go be fabulous. Hey, Snack, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Now, I know you don't want to miss out on the party. So head on over to www.snacksizepodcast.com and sign up for email alerts about new episodes and very special announcements from me. Until next time, step out into the world and let them know that you are fabulous.